They say when a baby is born, so is a mother. But while you are there to help your baby grow into the person he or she is meant to be, who is there to help you? Many women feel lost and alone when they become mothers, wondering, who am I now? Sometimes it feels like the transformation from woman to mother is as radical as a caterpillar's transformation into a butterfly. Did you know that inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar literally turns into goop before it rearranges itself into a butterfly? This podcast is about the goop, what soul transformation looks like as you transition from being a woman to a mom. Your baby's growth matters, but yours does too. You're not alone. I'm your host, Brittany Ming. Welcome to the Motherhood Metamorphosis. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Motherhood Metamorphosis. I am your host, Brittany Ming, and today we are here with Awunli Eghosasere. She is the founder of hapiwify.site, a digital platform that publishes resources to help young women to achieve their dreams. She is also a Christian woman speaker and writer. For the past 7 years, she has contributed to several leading blogs, magazines, and newspapers on women's issues. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you, Brittany, for having me. So glad to be on your show.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. So when we were chatting about what to talk about today for the show, you wrote to me that you were passionate about how motherhood can make you feel like your dreams can't be realized. And you said you wanted to talk to other women about how that may be only for a season or just for a little while. So tell me, I'd love to hear you tell your story about this and why you're passionate about this topic.
Okay. While I was in school, while I was in graduate school, I had so many dreams of what I wanted to do with my life. So before the year in which I was supposed to graduate, I got married. Marriage just happened suddenly, and motherhood began almost immediately. I had my first child, and a year and 9 months after, I had my second child. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of overwhelming for me. And I found myself crying at some point. And I asked myself, is this the life I designed for myself? Is this how I'm going to end up? Because I found that my routine was, waking up in the morning, not having to sleep properly at night, then waking up in the morning, involved in taking care of the kids throughout the day. And there wasn't any time for my own self. I cried so many nights. And at one point, I asked my spouse that, why is a woman's life this hectic, this burdensome? And he said, that's just the world we live in. It's a woman's responsibility to bring a child into this world, to nurture the children, to be involved in domestic chores. And I thought, this is not fair. Why shouldn't, because in our society, it is believed that a woman's role, a woman is solely responsible for the nurturing responsibilities and the domestic chores. She hardly finds, support. She hardly gets support from her spouse, especially if the spouse is this kind of man that thinks that it's a woman's responsibility to take care of the home. So it was really overwhelming for me. And then again, at a point in time, I watched a television series called Genius. It was about the story of Albert Einstein. Albert and Mileva were students in Zurich Polytechnic. They fell in love with each other. They got married. Albert continued with his education, but Mileva couldn't because she got pregnant, and as a result of the gender discrimination she encountered in school at that time, so she couldn't further her education. So, you see this couple who started out well. They were both ambitious, but the husband could further his own education. He could pursue his professional dreams, but she couldn't because she was stuck because of motherhood and gender discrimination. So that frustration she had, rubbed off on her marriage and her children. When I watched that movie, I felt a connection. I felt really sad. It kind of made me feel, when I was in school, I didn't really think a woman's, life was this hectic, or a woman, kind of encounters this kind of challenges. There's this invisible barrier between her and her dreams when she gets married and starts having children. I really never thought of anything like that. Nobody told me anything like that. My mom had 6 kids, but I didn't really see her struggle. But when I started having my own struggle, I started praying for her. I was like, So you mean you had 6 kids and I just have two and I'm already overwhelmed? I felt that I felt I was feeling that pain of every mother, you know. So when I watched Mileva's story, I felt really pained. I felt really sad. I felt passionate to help other women. I felt the need to provide support, to provide encouragement for other women who may have found themselves in the kind of shoes I was in at the time. When I got married, I moved from the city where I was to a new city. And it was also difficult for me to get a job. So I wasn't only overburdened with having to take care of my children, I also had financial difficulties because I wasn't earning any income of my own. And so it reminded me of someone I had met earlier before I got married. She confided in me, like she also left, the city where she was to join her spouse, but she couldn't get a job. Getting a job is quite difficult, especially when you get married or when you're pregnant. So it's quite difficult for you to get a job. So when she confided in me, she was crying because, she was really overburdened. Her spouse's income wasn't enough to meet the family expenses. And then it was like she couldn't find any platform where she could express her talents or her abilities. So it really made me become passionate to helping other women, to making women know from the things I've learned so far in my journey that, motherhood shouldn't stand as a barrier between you and achieving your dreams. It's really an overwhelming time in a woman's life, but there is a way around it.
Yeah, that's great. I can really relate to the things that you're saying because I've come against those same challenges in my own life. I started my master's degree when my twins were about 15 months old. So I had two babies that were
Wow.
under two, and I was going for this master's degree. And I did it in 2 years, like the normal time that you would do it. And it was really hard. And I wrote a thesis, like I did the whole thing. And then I started working, but it really gave me a sense of purpose. And I thought, okay, I did this. Like I'm a woman who's going to, have the family, have the husband, have the career. Like this is my chosen goal. So fast forward about 5 years, and my son was diagnosed with autism. And that really threw my plans for a loop because he's had to start all this therapy. And so by this time, I had 4 kids, and I was working, and I was started taking him to therapy like 4 or 5 times a week. And I could not do it. I couldn't. That dream was not. I couldn't realize that dream anymore because I was breaking down mentally and emotionally from the strain of that. So I stopped working so that I could be less stressed and take care of my kids and my son who needed me. And I thought, okay, eventually I'll get back to working, but I haven't yet. And it's been about 7 years. So,
Wow.
yeah. So I thought, okay, in that choice, because this is a choice like that women face, like, do I choose my
Yeah.
family or do I
Family
choose my own career?
over my dreams.
Yeah. And I've had to, it's still something that I struggle with. It was something that I really had to grieve over.
Mm.
Like it was a full on grief that I had to mourn and realize that these dreams were not going to be realized. However, I think that in choosing my son and choosing my own mental health, because I couldn't do it, all those things and be mentally healthy, like I was experiencing
Yeah.
severe anxiety and depression. And so I needed to get healthy for myself. And so I think, in a way, like I was still able to choose myself and show up in the ways that I needed to show up in my life for my kids, even if that was alongside my own grief of not having my career. So,
Mm.
talk to me about maybe a grief that you felt, or maybe a purpose that you found in helping these women. Have you seen these women experience grief in their own life as they try to navigate both their dreams and their families?
Yeah, I have. As a matter of fact, at a volunteering camp one year, we're just women. We're celebrating our national independence, and so we went to give out food items to the less privileged. So after doing that, we started, talking about our lives, our individual lives. And one woman asked, she said, why does a woman dream die the moment she gets married and starts having kids? You know, that the way she asked the question, it hit me hard. I couldn't answer, I couldn't give her a response. I just nodded in affirmation because I was going through the same thing. You know, she felt there's this loss of identity. There's
Mm.
this loss of identity that comes with being a mother. You don't know who you are anymore. Because you are involved in the lives of the people you have brought into this, the children you have brought into this world, as well as that of your spouse. And again, I was being invited to speak for a conference, a women's conference on work-life balance. As I made my research, I found that a lot of women are they are falling under the weight of being a mother. It's it's too much a thing to handle. You know, there is usually this overwhelming feeling you get with having to, um, change diapers, having to feed, like in my own case, I had three of them in 3 years. You know, have to feed them together. I have to bathe them together. I have to, they couldn't do anything for themselves. Okay. So at that point in time, I was mourning the loss of my own self because there wasn't me. So these women, I think at that time, at that period in time as well, they're also mourning a loss of their own dream, what they had aspired to become. You know, there isn't any woman I had come across, at that point in time that wouldn't say, "Oh, I no longer know who I am anymore."
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you see the woman looks unkept. She hasn't made her hair for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. She hasn't been to the salon to take care of her nails. You know, she just, she's just not the person. She's not just the same person she used to be, and she misses that person she used to be. She can't even, for the first 5 years of a woman's life, when she gets married and start having kids, she wouldn't know who she is anymore
Mm-hmm.
until the kids get older, before she's able to regain a sense of self-worth. Or if she's able to have new dreams. For some women, they may not be able to have new dreams anymore. They may not be able to have the ability to dream anymore. They may give up on themselves. But for some women, they may have new dreams, and they wouldn't remember what they had aspired to be when they were younger. So they begin to pursue new dreams. But for some people, they just lost, they just, um, forgo their ambition altogether, just to, invest themselves in the lives of those people, of the children they've breastfed, and that of their spouse. At my own time, when I was going through those emotions at that point in time, while I was always crying because, every woman is different in terms of physical ability. I find that I'm not really that strong when it comes to um, um, exerting physical energy in getting things done. So I was really feeling that difficulty in moving around the house, trying to get things done. And I confided in some women who had older children, but they really didn't see things from my perspective. They told me that I was lazy. So that's why I could not keep up with, taking care of my children. And I also felt because I had them, I had fertility issues. So, when I got the chance to when I got the chance to give birth to my children, I had to rush it up. So I felt that because there was no proper space between them, that was why I was really, being overburdened with having to take care of them all at once. But I couldn't find anyone who understood what I was going through. They said I was lazy, and that made me to cry even more. Because I couldn't find someone to lean on, or someone to, give me that support that I needed at that point in time.
Yeah, that's really hard. I think that caregiving, even if we are prepared for motherhood, even if we always wanted to be a mother, or we chose the time, like we were able to get pregnant when we wanted to, and this was like a very deliberate act, I think that most women are very overwhelmed by how much caregiving takes over your entire life. And it can feel, especially for new moms, and it sounds like from your experience having 3 children in 3 years, that was just a very overwhelming time for you, and one where you felt like, wow, I don't even know who I am anymore. I've changed completely. How can I find me again? So, when did you start feeling like yourself again? And how did you know?
Okay, as they became older, they could do some certain things for themselves. Like my last child now, he can go to the bathroom, he can clean himself up. That makes me so happy because I hate the most the part of motherhood I hate so much is that of the bathroom, having to clean up, having gone to the bathroom. So now he can clean up himself, and it's because I have 2 girls and a boy. The boy is the last. The 2 girls can help me, to arrange the house, to sweep the floor when I'm not too when I'm tired. They can play on their. I don't have to go after them. I don't have to. They can eat on their own now, unlike before where I have to feed them. They can do some things on their own. And then again, I discovered writing. I said earlier on that I couldn't get a job because I got pregnant almost immediately after getting married. So I couldn't get a job. So I started reading some blogs on how to how to navigate motherhood. So it helped me with some tips. I also discovered writing. I started writing for some blogs, and I was being paid. So that kind of, made me to find hope again, made me hopeful that I could still become something even after even after having my kids. And I also got remote jobs, and I also own my own blog where I talk about other things that matter, and where I provide inspiration for other women who are also struggling with motherhood challenges. So those things that I began doing made me feel hopeful again, made me feel alive again. It made me know that okay, even if I have kids now, I could still combine, because of technology has enabled a number of things. With technology, I could launch my idea or my business using technology. So I don't have to leave my peaceful environment to get anything done. I could be at home and still realize my dreams because of technology. So that made me feel hopeful again. That made me feel alive again.
Hmm. Yeah, I really like that. I think that technology has given it is really a gift to modern mothers because there is so
Yeah.
much pressure on us in our culture just to be everything, do everything, be that super mom. Even if we want to push away that ideal, I think that pressure is still there. And so, but I think technology has given people a voice and it has helped a lot of women find purpose. And that's my story too, is as a writer. And even starting this podcast, it was something that I had been wanting to do for about 3 years. And as I've gone further away from my working life, because I was a teacher at a university after I got my master's degree. But as I've gone further away from teaching, I've had to realize those new dreams for myself and realize what gifts, what about my gifts can I still offer to the world, even though I'm with my children at home? What are things that I still have to offer? And I realize I do have a lot in myself that I can give to the
Yeah.
world. It's not just I've given up on who I am and what my ambitions are. It's realizing, yes, like I am worthy, I have gifts, and what is it that I can do to pursue my own dreams? And that's something that's really valuable. And I think that if I was going to tell any woman listening to this, is like, you still have something to offer to the world. If you
Yeah,
have
that
that
is so correct.
passion, yeah, if you have that fire in you, even if you're scared, like you can pursue it. And it might take a lot longer than you think. Like I've been thinking about this podcast for about well over a year, maybe even 2 years. I felt like there were a lot of barriers, but I was like, I just have to do it. I have to do it, even if I'm scared.
Mm.
So I think that realizing that even if the path looks different than you thought, you can still find joy in finding out new ways of being yourself.
So, yeah, very nice.
Yeah. So, what would you tell another woman who was feeling like you did in those very early years of motherhood, before your son potty trained, before like all that happened, like what would you tell her? A woman who's like in the thick of it, who's feeling like she's completely lost, maybe even feeling bitter, like this isn't what my life was supposed to look like. What truth could you speak into her life right now?
Then for those women who are going through what we've been through, like you're experiencing a loss of your dreams, you're experiencing overwhelm, I would like to say it's only for a while. It's only for a while. Like in my case, I regret not having been vested in that moment. If you ask me about the memories I made with my kids at that point in time, I really don't have memories because I was absent. I was there, but I was absent as a result of what I was going through. I magnified the pain. Let me put it that way. I magnified the pain rather than being vested in that moment where, this children asked me to bring them to the world. It was a choice I made. I brought them to the world. So at that point in time, I owe them the responsibility to take care of them at that point in time. But I was absent. So I'll tell every mom that is feeling overwhelmed right now, be present. It's only for a while. And then you need to have a conversation with your spouse. And recently I had an interview with a friend. We're talking about work-life balance. And she said something profound. Build your support system before you need them. So if you're unable to have a support system, you talk to your spouse to help you, in those areas where you're feeling overwhelmed. Let them provide support for you because you can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. You understand? I know society has defined a woman as one who is supposed to be in charge of the domestic chores, in charge of the nurturing of the children, but we need support. We need support. So we have to talk to our spouses to provide that support that we need. We can't do it alone because when we keep on doing it alone, you know, our, our mental health, is how I put it, I don't know how to express it, but it's going to affect our mental health. And in the long run, we may not be happy in the long run. Like Mileva now, Mileva's rubbed it off on her marriage, and one of her children was hospitalized throughout his life, because of the frustrations she was feeling inside of her. So rather than, letting out your frustrations, find help, find someone who can provide support for you at that point in time. It's only going to be for a while. And I read a Forbes article recently that interviewed women who are over age 50. The conclusion was that if you've invested the early years of your life in raising up your children, you can still achieve your dreams when you become older. So at that point in time where you're raising your kids, just be vested in that moment. Hold on to the fact that it's only for a while and you can have new dreams. There is no end to how much you can dream. Okay. There is no end to it. So you can have new dreams. Forget about what you've had before. There is still more, there's still an ample, there's still an ample opportunity for you to have new dreams. As long as you are alive, you can still dream and you can still have anything you want to become.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that I love that you said as long as you're alive. It's like it's not that somehow the opportunity is lost. I have this friend on Facebook and she her kids are about my kids' age. So I have 14 years old all the way down to 2. So her girls are I think 15, 14 and 12. And she just went through law school and is taking the bar and she actually just took the bar and didn't pass. But she said, I am not going to give up. I'm still pursuing my dreams. I can take it again in 6 months. And she's showing her daughters what it means to have life lessons through failure. She's like, I always tell my girls that even if you fail, there's something you can learn. She's like, and now I guess I get to really express that to them because she didn't pass the bar the first time. So, but she is pursuing her dreams. But maybe she couldn't do it when her kids were toddlers. Her kids are almost all teenagers now, but she's able to pursue the law degree and become a lawyer that she's wanted to do for years. Because I remember talking to her about that when our kids were in kindergarten and first grade. She was talking about how she wanted to go back to school to be a lawyer. And I was like, you go girl, like you do that. But it took her a while. But that dream was still alive in her and she was able to to work it out. So I think I would, in addition to everything you said, which I think is such good advice, I think I would just say be patient with yourself and don't beat up on yourselves so much to say, I'm never going to do this, or this is never going to happen for me. Like having that perspective that it may be just take time. And this is the
Yeah.
season to be present with the little ones. I also really like what you said about trying to find balance in life. And I've been thinking a lot about that lately, in that sometimes it's really tough to find balance, but I think it's easier to choose priorities and saying, maybe my priority right now is being present in my home with my little babies or my toddlers. And then later, my priority can be going back to school or starting a blog or whatever it may be when they go to kindergarten or when they're a little bit older or when they sleep better, whatever it may be. So having those goals for yourself and realizing that picking priorities doesn't mean you've given up on your dreams or who you are or what you want to pursue. Well, thank you so much. I love this conversation. I think it's really important and I really appreciate your honesty in sharing your struggles. And I think it's really going to speak to a lot of women. I like to ask these 10 rapid fire questions, and they're just for fun. So, are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
What's one thing you must have on your nightstand?
My purse.
Your purse? Yeah, you got to have
Yeah.
that. What's your go to treat after the kids go to bed?
A bottle of drink.
Yeah. What's your favorite drink?
Malt. I take malt a lot. I tend to hide it so that no one will find it. Hide it beside my bed.
Yeah, it's your guilty pleasure. What is an ordinary moment that brings you great joy?
Just spending time being myself alone, journaling, or thinking about, some little things I did to inspire myself to work harder.
What's the last show that you binged and loved?
How to Get Away with Mother.
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah, I like that one too. If you run out of this, you have to go to the store.
Okay, eggs.
Eggs. Yeah. Oh, we always have to have eggs in our house too. Yeah, that's a must have. Who makes you laugh?
Wow, my last child.
Yeah, your
He
youngest.
always says funny. He always says funny things.
How old is he?
He's 4.
4. Okay. Yeah. 4-year-olds are hilarious. Do you prefer texting or talking on the phone?
Talking on the phone, texting is such a huge task.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, just get it over with a phone call. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to traveling around the world, traveling to different countries. That's one of my dreams.
What's your number one country? What's on your bucket list?
Australia.
Australia. Oh, I'd love to go to Australia too. Yeah. All right. Last one. Finish this sentence. Motherhood is.
Oh, motherhood is life.
Is life. Yeah. I really like that because life can be so many things. It can be hard. It can be beautiful. But yeah, it is life. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. If you want to follow Awunli, you can find her on Facebook at Happy Wifey, and I will share your contact information in the show notes. Thanks so much, Awunli. I'm so glad you could be here today.
Thank you for having me. I had fun with these questions.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. Next, tell your friends. Podcasts are a slow growth type of social media, so promo works best when it's from person to person. If you know another mom who's in the goop right now, send her a text of encouragement and the link to the episode that is speaking to your heart right now. If you have a story about your own matrescence, the physical, emotional, hormonal, and social transition that occurs when someone becomes a mother, please leave a comment below. I want this channel to be a place where women can build community about the challenges and joys of their own motherhood metamorphosis. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope it encouraged you and gave you some good food for thought. If you ever have any questions, comments, or you'd like to reach out to me personally, you can email me at brittanyaming@gmail.com.